Hello, I'm Travis.
And I'm James.
And you're watching Monday Coffee Show. Today we're going to talk about those darn millennials. If you read anything now, you'll hear about those darn millennials who are ruining all the industries, are refusing to buy houses, who don't want to drive cars, and who are just in general terrible. It's the silliest thing that I've ever seen. Granted, I don't have the life experience yet to understand that this happens all the time, and that we will have peers who, when we're old, who will be like, "Oh, those darn kids in 2050 living in this world don't understand that we had to chew our food. We didn't have this holographic food." It is a consistent thing. It's nothing new. But it is ridiculous. Some of the things that we see are the general consensus of all of these things is that millennials are simultaneously entitled and just ruining things, and both are wrong on a whole scale. Don't get me wrong. We've met people who are they're totally just entitled dicks. They really are, and it's awful. But I don't think it's necessarily feeling entitled if you say don't want to be hungry or you don't want to be homeless. I think that these are things that, personally, call me politically crazy, I think that people should, have the right to live in a house with food and water.
My whole thing is, like you said, it's kind of people who have a problem, quote unquote, with millennials are people who grew up in a generation before us and they had to work harder for their things. And to me, it's like, that's not my problem.
And not true.
Yeah, but my thing is that, so now I have a lot of people telling me I don't know how good I have it because I have a job where I make more than people that are twice my age. Again, not my problem. I worked for this job. I worked for every job I've had. I've been working since I was 13, and I've just made smart decisions to keep going up. I decided that if I'm not happy somewhere at a job, once a year comes, I'm leaving. I'm not just going to go, oh, well, I have to do this or I have to pay bills or whatever. Nope, leaving. And I feel like the entitled part, while there are some entitled people, like you said, I feel like a lot of times people see general needs, again, like you said, as being entitled. People are like, oh, because to me, I don't need a car. I take Uber everywhere, so I don't need to drive or anything. But there are people who do need cars, or who it's more convenient for them to have cars if they work in a different city, or if they have various things that they have to do through their commute. But, I don't feel like it's entitled to say, oh, I need a job where I can afford a car, because there are people with degrees, which is another thing. People of the old generation feel like, oh, well, if you get a degree, then you won't have anything to worry about. That's not true. The job market is a very fickle thing. So there are people with master's degrees that are working jobs at $10 an hour because,
or less if they're working at a cafe.
Yeah, because there are because places don't want to pay them what they're worth. Mm-hmm. So that's not entitlement. That's because, you're $100 and something thousand in debt from going to school for a master's. You need a job to be able to pay that debt as well as live. So
yeah,
I don't think it's entitlement.
Yeah, and so there's you get into the idea of they're also this idea of oh, people are so entitled now because they're demanding $15 an hour as a minimum wage, which I personally would love to see. I'm also I'm a little bit of a pinko socialist, one of them's. But I think that's good because people I think that people need that. Folks shouldn't have to be working 3 jobs to be able to barely afford rent. but it's funny because you'll have people who will say that's ridiculous. Like $15 an hour is absolutely ridiculous as a minimum wage. Who will also and this will be old news by the time this gets published. But like Jason Chaffetz, who is a representative from I don't care where, he's not my favorite. He put forward this thing of like lawmakers, like federal lawmakers who make $174,000 a year salary, that they are having trouble having their house in their district and their house in DC. And he's like, oh, we should have this like $2,500 a month thing. So what he's saying is he wants an extra $30,000 a year because he's having trouble affording a house on a $174,000 salary.
But people are entitled for wanting more than $10 an hour.
Yeah, people are entitled for wanting to make for wanting to make as much as $30,000 in a year working their job. Like 50% of Americans make $52,000 or less a year, of which I am included. I don't remember the breakdowns as it gets lower than that, but lots of people make less than $30,000 a year, and like that's what they live on. And I think Jason Chaffetz doesn't need to take on literally a second salary to make this. I think he can make it work. Or what I would like to see is lawmaker dorms. Just build a little dorm house, bunk beds. Mitch McConnell like cuddling up in his little. I think he's a bottom bunk guy really. It doesn't look like he can move as well.
I mean, my thing with the whole $15 minimum wage thing, so this is just my opinion, but I feel like it wouldn't make much of a difference because I feel like, for one, with inflation, there wouldn't be much of a difference from, like, say if somebody's making minimum wage, which is like $7 something an hour, 15 is
I think it's
$7.25
nationally.
Oh God,
I think.
that's horrible.
Right? That's bad. That's bad.
What I was making in high school, and that was horrible. I look back and I'm like, how did I even survive? But I guess in high school you don't need much. But
well, you shouldn't.
That's essentially making a little more than double than what minimum wage is now. But I feel like even if that were to pass, things will go up with inflation. Not only that, but people who are already making $15 an hour, they're not going to be like, oh, well, that's okay. Like, no, they're going to want their salary doubled as well. So it's just going to be this constant cycle of making more money, but with inflation, nothing's really going to change.
Like prices will go up.
Yeah.
There are people smarter than me who have argued that that's not going to happen, but I'm not the expert in that. I think a large part of it is that I think it's just some stuff is just too expensive. Like it's just too, like, life is too expensive, and it's absurd how true that is.
Yeah, but I mean, if you think about it in the mind of a politician, who are most of them, like this situation you just explained, people are just looking out for themselves. He wants an extra $30,000 when he's already making six figures. They're not going to allow people to make $15 an hour and keep things the same price, or whatever. And again, people who already make that much or more, I'm one of those people. I make more than $15 an hour. If I was to cut my salary by my hours, I'm not going to be like, okay, that's cool. Like, no, I would want my salary doubled as well, because I feel like if you want to double somebody's salary just because they need a livable wage, that's fine. But then it's like, for people who have jobs that are paying more than that because of the skill sets that they have to have or whatever, it's like we're going to obviously want more money as well. So it's just going to be this never-ending cycle of increasing money, and I just don't feel like people want to deal with that. So I feel like that's probably one of the main reasons people are just like, no, we'll just let it not be happening. But I do think minimum wage does need to be raised, because there's no way that you can live off of $7.25 an hour. And
it's not fair for parents to, or just people in general, to have to work 3 jobs, 20 hours a week at each job, because no one will give them more hours than that at just one job. They shouldn't have to be doing that just to make rent.
Yeah. And when you think about it, when you're doing that, it's like not worth it, because speaking from somebody who's not in a situation that's not worth it, but I know to them they kind of have to do it. But it's like if you're working 3 jobs, it's like your whole day is gone. So that's probably no time for sleep. Adding time for the commute to each job, that's probably like 18-hour days.
And then on top of that, if you have like children that you have to take care of, like how do you
and
like?
It's like with taxes too, because I'm like, if you work in 3 jobs, it's gonna be more that you have to do with taxes at the end of the year because you got 3 separate.
And it's
I feel like either way, unfortunately, some people are just set up to like kind of lose in the financial system, it sucks.
Capitalism sucks. It's actually that's the episode. Capitalism, it sucks.
Because like when I was in high school and I got my first like official job, I've always been the youngest one wherever I worked. So it's always weird to see people who are in their 30s and 40s and 50s working somewhere for $7.25 an hour, and I'm just like, I am in high school and this is not enough for me. So how is it enough for you to take care of yourself? Like, granted, they work more hours, but when you think about it, the more hours you work, the more you get taken out for taxes and everything else. So it's still like you're still not making a lot of money.
It's not cool.
And it's also a thing where it's like, I guess another thing with millennials is that they feel like millennials are sensitive, I think, but it's like, no, times have changed. People just aren't as bigoted as they used to be.
Also, like, I think it's funny because like that's totally a thing that comes up, but it's not that people are more sensitive. It's people are just calling you out for saying racist shit. Like,
yeah, and it's like,
sorry.
You know what I find funny? People always want to say, "Oh, it's freedom of speech." That's true. You can say whatever you want. However, be ready for whatever consequences to certain things that you say, because hate crime and hate speech is illegal. Can't do that. And people get up in arms when. So there was one situation I saw on Facebook where there was a teacher. She was a white woman. I forgot what state or whatever. She posted this Facebook rant about how like black people needed to be like something about calling like black people like animals or gorillas or something like that. And it's like, this is a teacher, so what is she saying to the students? And there was another one where a teacher gave out a certificate to a kid where the certificate said most likely to blend in with white people. I was like, oh. So
there was that one out of the same class was most likely to be a terrorist.
Yeah.
To this girl who she had brown skin. I'm not gonna assume what her ethnicity or race is, but like the photos of both of these children just standing there with these certificates, and they looked just destroyed.
And see, this is one reason I'm not a parent, because I would have had to, as much as I try to avoid confrontation and everything, I would have had to whip that teacher's ass. I don't care who it was. You would have had to, it would have been a problem. And I feel like a lot of times people are like, oh, well, millennials are sensitive because, people are just saying their opinion. It's like, okay, but when millennials say their opinions, you then get offended, and there's all of a sudden either, when it comes from people who are like super religious, it's like, oh, there's a war on Christianity now. No, because I don't see that. I mean, you still have to swear on a Bible in court, which is like everybody is Christian.
You can't make a choice now. To just stand and swear, or you can choose the text of your choice, which is good. In courtrooms that allow it, that's not every courtroom yet, but
every state is different. So but it's still like this. It's like this double, not even a double standard. It's like hypocrisy, because it's like, oh, millennials are sensitive, but like you're just as sensitive because you're getting upset over people speaking their opinion.
Yeah, I mean, and with the free speech thing, First Amendment free speech. Which also, there's much more to the First Amendment than just free speech. There are 4 other things there. But also, like, those aren't there, like, that's not there to protect you from anything except for arrest or, like, government intervention. Your job, like, your employer has every right to be like, I don't want to be associated with this person anymore. This is bad business for me. Or, I had this idea for a really jaunty tune that I need to sit down and like actually do. That it was like, it'll protect you from arrest. It will protect you from something else. It will protect you from the FBI. but it will not protect you from getting a black eye.
That's true.
Yes, you have freedom from arrest for what you're saying. Like, that is what allows dissent to happen, which is good for a country, or just any governing body. It will not protect you from someone punching you in the face. It does not protect you from consequences. Like,
here's the
yes,
thing
no one should be assaulting you.
Yeah.
But sometimes,
I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes people deserve it. I'm just gonna say it. However, I feel like a lot of people have that mindset where they want to say something that's offensive, and then when somebody reacts to it, then they want to play victim, which is something I can't stand.
yes.
But that's pretty much how I feel like a lot of people are. Like, a lot of these people call millennials sensitive or snowflakes. They're those kind of people. They'll say things that are bigoted and disrespectful, but when somebody comes at you, all of a sudden you're a victim and you've been verbally attacked and abused and you don't feel safe. You're doing the same thing that you're saying millennials are doing. So I don't understand.
Again, I think this is going to be old news by the time this gets published, but like, I saw a thing getting passed around the Twitter that was a screenshot of Urban Dictionary, and it was broflake, and it was straight dudes who get really upset when they're not included in Pride stuff, which I think is going to be one of those like perennial, every June this image is going to come around when Pride comes up. Because I will tell you something, as the straight man in the room right now, Pride is not there because people are proud of being gay. It is because they are proud that they have survived the world that they live in because they are gay. Like, that does not apply to straight people. You just exist. That's it. Welcome to the world. You exist. The world was built for you. Yay! Like, that's what you get. That's what you get. That's the celebration you get.
Yeah, I just feel like I also feel like a lot of the criticism, however unwarranted and unjustified and asinine, comes from a lot of people who are extremely religious. And I feel like, personally, I'm an atheist, so I don't do the whole religion thing. But I feel like when people are trying to use religion to discredit somebody for who they are, or try to take away rights, or fight against human rights, but then, it's like cherry picking, which can be a whole topic for a different thing, but it's like they're not really practicing what they claim they are. Because a lot of people claim, like, oh, it's all about love and da, but it's like, okay, but you're openly bashing gay people, you're being racist and trying to justify that with some whatever logic, misogynist, so it makes no sense.
No. Also, like, if you're... This is definitely a tangent from the millennial thing, but like, here's the thing, right? If you're claiming that gay people are wrong because of Leviticus, if you are a clean-shaven person who has had lobster or a cheeseburger in your life,
or you wear mixed fabrics,
sorry, same book, like literally the same book. I used to, not that book, but like I used to teach this stuff. That was a job of mine for a while. We can get into that debate. Hit me up in the comments. But yeah, I mean, it's frustrating. It's very frustrating right now to see this. Like, I'm someone who's on the older side of being a millennial. I have friends who are on the younger side of being a millennial, and like I also see like how this affects kind of like this next generation coming up. I work with a lot of, like, at the bike shop I work with. I work with a lot of teens. I see a lot of teens, and I see them in a very different context than I used to see teens, which was as a teacher, as an adult in the school. Now I'm just an adult in the community, and I see how this stuff that's like directed at people my age, like really affects them. And so just stop writing this stuff. Your hot take is not that hot. It's been said. It's a tired idea. Just sit on it.
Always old, wrinkly, unattractive, sometimes fat white men who are saying these things, and it's like, who hurt you? Like, what is wrong?
I wonder this about Rush Limbaugh all the time. Anyway, this was our very tangent-filled, but I think ultimately very interesting discussion on why millennials aren't as entitled as Time Magazine would have you believe. So we say this every week, but like I'm actually really interested in seeing some, what some people think about this. Unless you're the person we're accusing of writing these things, and then you can just stop. But yeah. So we have comments, we have a subscribe button, we have all of these things. Use them. They're all free. This is a free media platform, and we are providing a free media service where we just kind of ramble about stuff every week, and it's been great. And until next week, when we ramble about something entirely different, enjoy your coffee.